Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I think we're live, so I'll kick it off. My name's Dan. It's great to be with you this afternoon. As you can probably already tell from my accent, I'm based up in the northeast of England, so I'm coming to you live now from Newcastle. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the next hour. We're going to delve into artificial intelligence, what it is, where it's going, its impact on education, and how we might start to think about the future of education in this AI world. My name's Dan. I was a high school teacher in a secondary school for a number of years and moved into the senior leadership team of that school and led on digital transformation. Then I moved into further education, so college education, 16 to 18-year-old, as the director for digital innovation for a group of colleges in the Northeast. So we had about 15,000 students and 1,000 members of staff. And I led a team to upskill staff and students digitally. Also, we invested heavily in virtual reality, augmented reality, and did research on how immersive technologies can impact learning. And some amazing results came out of that. Then we started to look at artificial intelligence, and kind of we're looking at like a year and a half ago now, and kind of coincided with a big event at the end of November 2022 with the release of a tool called ChatGPT, which I'm imagining most of you have heard of because it tends to be in the news quite a bit, in newspapers and so on. And it's kind of one of the first tools released that have kicked off this kind of new AI era that we find ourselves in. So let me just I'll move on. So I was lucky enough to be approached by a publisher in the United States to write this book. And this came out in March of this year. It's called The AI Classroom, The Ultimate Guide to Artificial Intelligence in Education. So a lot of what I'm going to say is in this book, and it'll get a lot more practical. Obviously, in an hour session webinar, it's difficult to get kind of nitty gritty into the practical side of things. But you'll find in this book, you'll find a lot of the frameworks to help you get the most out of tools like ChatGPT, and also looking at what a teacher looks like in this new AI era, and what are the qualities of leadership we're going to need to get the education system and to get our schools prepared and thriving in this new AI era. So please do check it out if you can. Now, I always like to start with this. So whenever I talk to people, and I have done for about 4 years, I've used this quote. And it's about 4 years old itself. It's by McKinsey and Company. And they said we'll experience more technological progress in the coming decade than we did in the preceding 100 years put together. Now, that's a bold quote. It's a really bold quote. And if you think about it, like I did, first of all, you'd be forgiven for thinking it's just hyperbole, that it's just an exaggeration. And even though I was using it kind of, at the start of a talk. It sounds good, doesn't it? Get people thinking that there's going to be change happening. And I always knew that technology was going to bring about more and more change. However, I don't think I fully understood the kind of power of this quote and what its suggestion until last November, the first time I ever tried ChatGPT. And if you've tried it, might have had a similar experience where when you start realizing the power of it and what it can do, you start to think, my goodness, what if this is integrated into the tools we already use, the hardware we use, the software we use, into the stuff we do at work, the stuff in our lives, and what if it continues to progress and develop at high speed, like we're led to believe with this technology, then it will bring about a lot of change. So we're going to focus on that change. We're going to focus on the possibilities and the benefits in this session, because I do believe that we've entered a new era. A lot of people are comparing this to the Industrial Revolution. Some people are even saying this is going to go far beyond the disruption that the Industrial Revolution brought. It's going to go a lot further because of the power of this technology. And I do believe we're on day one of this new era, this AI era. But don't just take my word for it. I'm going to show you a video now. In this video, you will see Morgan Freeman, the Hollywood actor, and he's talking about this new era that we have entered.
What is your perception of reality? Is it the ability to capture, process, and make sense of the information our senses receive? If you can see, hear, taste, or smell something, does that make it real? Or is it simply the ability to feel. I would like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now, what do you see?
Now, Morgan Freeman says, I'd like to welcome you to the era of synthetic reality. Now, what do you see? What do you see? Now, if I'm with a live audience, actually in front of people, I normally ask, what do you think he means by that? What do you think he means by now? What can you see? And some of you will have got it. Some of you will have guessed it. And there's always a few people who guess it. But let me hand back to Morgan Freeman so he can tell you what he means.
I am not Morgan Freeman, and what you see is not real. Well, at least in contemporary terms, it is not. What if I were to tell you that I am not even a human being? Would you believe me?
Yeah, so it wasn't Morgan Freeman. It was AI was used to generate the image of Morgan Freeman, the voice of Morgan Freeman, and then to animate those two together to create what you just watched there. Now, a lot of you will be thinking, well, it's a deep fake, and that term's been around for a few years now, and deep fake technology has been around for a few years. The difference here is that the ability to be able to create things like this with ease is now incredible using generative artificial intelligence. So that kind of hopefully gets you starting to think, especially with your students that you have or that you're gonna have. What are we teaching them? Because schools will and should have been teaching digital literacy in terms of misinformation, fake news, but this is going to get to a whole new level now. We're going to be in a world that's saturated with this type of content, and it might not be as easily you won't be able to guess that it's a deep fake as easy as what you just watched there. So we're really going to have to think about how we're preparing our students for this world ahead, and how we're preparing ourselves as well to know what's real, what's not real, how to corroborate evidence and sources and so on, because we will see more and more of this content generated.
I am not
Now,
Morgan Freeman.
let me move on from this. I want to introduce you to this strategic approach. Now, my last few jobs in leadership have all been around strategy, but I don't think strategy is just for people who've got the title of leader. Strategy should be for all of us, and because especially at school, we all lead in some respect. It's not just the department leads or the department managers or the SLT who lead. We all lead within our own domain and what we're doing. So I think we should all be strategizing. Now, it might not be a formal strategy, but we should all have a strategy in our mind. Because for me, the definition of strategy is simply leadership in the future. So how do we maintain or how do we develop our leadership tomorrow, for next year, for 5 years, for 10 years time? And it's just about having a bit of a model for that, really. So I'd like to introduce you to the 3-box solution to innovation, because it's used by businesses all around the world. But I think it can greatly benefit us as teachers and as educational organizations, our schools, colleges, universities. Now, essentially, when companies look at this, when they use it, they think, well, what's our box one? And box one is essentially, what are you delivering that is leading to success? So for a business, it'll be their product, their service. It'll be the day-to-day systems and processes that help them to create those services and products and then gain a profit. It's the performance engine. It's what keeps the business going. Now, think about that for education. What do schools do on a day-to-day basis? What's their performance engine? What are the systems, the processes that we are doing, and what are our successes? Okay. Now that probably doesn't change much from school to school. So we've got a shared experience there of what our box one is. Now, schools can innovate within their box one. And this type of innovation tends to be called linear innovation, which essentially means we get better incrementally each step. And some leadership teams are really good at this, of trying to really engineer efficiency into the systems and the processes, and to get more time for students to learn, to kind of engineer the timetable so that students have got more time in front of the teacher, on all sorts of levels. I mean, there are other ways where we failed at it. I mean, it's no big secret that teacher workload is quite heavy sometimes. So we haven't always got that right. But box one innovation is a way to try and make what we're already doing a bit better. Now, there's a problem there. It's good. Box one innovation is much needed in many respects, but there are limitations to it. What if external factors, things going on in the world around us, actually start to disrupt our box one, our normal day-to-day workings of education? What if even external factors start to make our box one irrelevant? Then box one linear innovation isn't going to solve that, because that just looks to make what we're already doing better. We need a different type of innovation. And that's where businesses will go to box three. And box three is associated with non-linear innovation, which essentially means it's not about making the current system better. It's about creating a new system, a new way of doing things. It's about creating the future. And in our context, about creating the future of education that will withstand the disruption, that will stay relevant. Box two, by the way, is what do we let go of from box one that might not work in box three? What led to success in box one that actually could lead to failure in box three? And good leaders, and remember when I talk about leaders, I'm talking about all of us, good leaders will hold box one and box three in harmony. They will keep the performance engine going, because if we don't do that, if we jump straight to the new flashy innovation, then our day-to-day workings are going to fall quickly. We're not going to have a school to come back into. However, if we don't do box three and create the future, then in a few years' time, we might not have a school to come back into. So we've got to hold them both in harmony. Why am I talking about this? Because artificial intelligence is a huge deal, okay, to put it lightly. I said before, people are talking about it like it's the new industrial revolution and even beyond that. So AI, the way I see it, is that it's got 1 foot in box one, and it can help with our box one. And some of you might even already be doing this, using something like ChatGPT to help you create lesson plans, to help you be more efficient, to help you with the admin side of things, and so on, and can help us really streamline our time as educators and make what we're already doing a bit better. However, it would be remiss of me not to mention that artificial intelligence has also got 1 foot in box three. That means that it's got the potential, if we're to believe where this could head, to really disrupt the current education system and even possibly make parts of it irrelevant. So how do we start preparing for it? And it's a big task. If you're just coming into education, it's probably quite an exciting time to come into education, because there's probably going to be a lot of changes on the horizon. So, but we need to be part of that. We need to lead that. So the rest of this presentation is kind of going to be framed in this context, really. We're going to go into box one examples. We're going to see how AI can help us, but I'm also going to be pushing you towards box three. If you're watching this and you want to make comments, you want to ask questions, please do put them in the comments there. I've got the comments next to me, so I'll see them as they're coming in. If I feel like I'm going to answer it already in the next part of the presentation, I'll leave it, because I know I'll be addressing it. If it's something which I think is a great question and we should discuss it, then I'll try and finish a bit early so that I can address some of those questions. So please do put your thoughts and your questions in the comments. Right. Let's go back to the beginning. So now, normally when I speak to a group of teachers, so when I speak to a group of teachers, there can be anywhere from 200 to 1,000 teachers in the room. And normally, it tends to be the same in each school I speak in. And that tends to be about 3/4 of them have used ChatGPT at least once. Then there tends to be about 1/4 who haven't. There's even a few that have never even heard of it. And then there's a handful of people, sometimes not very many, who are using it on a day-to-day basis. Now, I'm going to assume that you're kind of similar because I literally see the same ratios everywhere I go. Now, let's get into what this is, because I think I was about a week and a half into using this technology before I started to think, what actually is this and what can it really do? Now, if you've got a smartphone in your pocket, and you have done for the best part of 10 years, you will have had really good AI in your pocket. Talking in broad strokes, though, that type of AI tends to give insights into data. It learns about your data. Very basic example, Amazon, you go to Amazon, you buy a product, lots and lots of data is gathered on you, from how many pages you clicked on before you paid for something, even where your cursor is going, what time of day. There's loads and loads of data. It gives the company insights, and the AI will help them learn from that data. But it also gives you insights. It tells you about products you might be interested in, for example. Why is this different? And why is this type of AI causing such a fuss, this new AI? It's generative AI. So not only does it give insights into data, which it can do, but its power comes from being able to create new data or generate new resources, new materials, pretty much anything you want it to, really. And definitely in the next decade or so, pretty much anything you want it to. It can do that really easily because it can communicate in pretty much human language. Let me jump to ChatGPT, so you can see ChatGPT here. I'll see if I can zoom in a bit just so you can see it a bit clearer. Let's try again. I'll see what that's like. So I can just say to it, "Hello," and it responds to me. "Hello, how can I assist you today?" Then I can say to it something like, let's say, I want to be a secondary school teacher in, let's say, England. Give me advice. And then it very quickly, as you can see, starts to give me some advice. So first of all, it's talking about qualifications there, about gaining experience, choosing a subject, obviously quite important there in secondary school, doing an initial teacher training course, enhance your subject knowledge, professional skills, and so on. And there we go. So it regenerates information really, really quickly, really fast, and it tends to be very, very accurate. Now, it can be creative as well. So why don't we ask it something strange like, can you write this advice as a poem? You can see it's giving me some nice verses there, all rhyming, which I like from a poem anyway. So that's good. And there we go. It's wrote a poem. What if I want to have this translate this poem into Welsh? It's going to give me a bit of a caveat saying that about that, but it's going to do it for me anyway. And there we go. Don't know if there's any Welsh speakers on this webinar, because I've got no idea what it's saying. but from when I normally ask, when I do this example, it tends to be very accurate. It even tries to do the rhyming as well. So I'm not sure if it is doing the rhyming there. If you're a Welsh speaker, please do put it in the chat so we can know. There we go. Giving another caveat at the end there. So keep in mind the intricacies of Welsh poetry. A form of sound echoing. I'm learning something new here. And other forms of rhyme and meter are not represented here for a more. That's really, yeah. So just scratching the surface of things that you can ask it. And how can it do this? I think that's it's important to know when you're using a tool how it works, especially when it's quite advanced like this. So it can understand natural language, understood my prompts there, my requests, and it could then respond in natural language as well. And it didn't matter what language that I asked it to speak in neither. It can do this basically a number of factors. Again, I'll do this in broad strokes, but it's essentially designed to think a bit like a human brain. So the way it makes connections, digital neural connections between all the data that it's been trained on. It can understand my prompt. And the third reason that it can do this really well is the amount of data that it's trained on. Now, if you go get a ChatGPT account, if you haven't already got one, if you haven't, I really recommend you do. Just go to Google, type in ChatGPT. It's the OpenAI website. You can literally get a free account within about a minute, and you will be using ChatGPT version 3.5. That's the one you get free. And that is trained on approximately 300 billion words worth of information. 300 billion words worth of information. Now, sometimes those numbers, big numbers, go over our heads, don't they? So let's think about it this way. When we read on average about 100 words every 30 seconds. So if you're in a nice flow, you're reading 100 words every 30 seconds, and you don't stop. You just keep going. Don't have a break. Just keep going and going and going and going. It would take you approximately 2,854 years to read the amount of words worth of information that the free version of ChatGPT has been trained on. If you were to then pay, it's $20 a month, it's about £16, for ChatGPT Plus, where you get so many new tools. It's amazing, and I do recommend it, even if it's just for that first month, if you can afford it. And then play around with it, see what value it can bring. If it's not bringing you value, don't renew the subscription and cut it off after a month. But you need to have a play around with it because some of the features are phenomenal. If you were to use that version, ChatGPT 4, it would take you about 7,000 years to read through the amount of information it is being trained on. I mean, we're getting back to the start of agriculture. Invention of the wheel, start of written down languages 7,000 years ago. It's a lot of information that it's being trained on. And what it does is essentially works like this. So because it can make those connections, and it's trained on so much data, it works a bit like a probability machine. So it works out the probability of the next word or half word in the sentence. And because it understands the prompt, it can make those connections between the vast amount of data it's got. It can do it so accurately, and it means it can do what I just showed you really, really fast. And here's another example. This is an example for a head teacher, but it goes for any admin task that any teacher does, really. So I'm a head teacher of a school, write a letter to parents, inviting them to parents' evening, and then I go on to give a few details, when it is, the structure of the parents' evening, and I even sell it to write in a professional manner, include the schedule as a table as well. And here it is in real time, writing that letter for me. I know it's going fast, but if you try and read some of it, you'll see it's writing it in that professional tone. It's writing it really well. Here it is, putting the schedule as a table in for me, like I asked. And in about 10 seconds, it's finished the letter for me. Now, I might want to jump in and adjust it slightly, maybe make it a bit more personal, but actually it's written out so well that I don't think I'm going to have to change all that much. The amount of time that's going to save me on something like that is absolutely incredible. Right, let's go to the next level. That ChatGPT, and there are other versions by other companies. Google have got a version called Google Bard. There's a tool called Pi.ai, which is an AI model which is trained to have empathy. So it doesn't just give you an answer, it asks you more questions and tries to understand. There are a few different really cool ones out there. Those types of models are generally referred to as text to text. For obvious reasons, I type text in and I get text back out. There are different types of AI. Let's have a look at text to image, because there are AIs out there where I can type in a request for an image and it will create that image for me. Anybody familiar with this image? Anyone come across this? So this made the news back in, I think it was March or April, and some newspapers ran it as a funny story. Look, it's the Pope and he's wearing a big white puffer jacket, a funny story. Turned out this image is completely AI generated. It's not real in the slightest. And what I mean by that is not that the software kind of took an existing picture of the Pope, superimposed a jacket on, and made it look good. That's not what's happened here. these image models work quite similar to how I explained ChatGPT works, except they're trained on hundreds of millions of images. And what it does is a bit like how ChatGPT works out the probability of the next word in the sentence. The image generators work out the probability of the color of the next pixel. So from the color of the pixel level, this image is completely AI generated. There is nothing about this image that is real. It is completely artificial. But because of how the quality of these tools, this was created on a tool called Midjourney, the quality of it means that it can look photorealistic, even though it is completely generated by AI. Some of you might have seen these images as well. So images of Donald Trump being arrested, then images of him being in prison. These appeared online not long after it was announced that Donald Trump was going to be arrested for the first time a few months ago. As you can imagine, upset quite a few people in America. Actually, a bit of word of advice: if you're ever invited to give a talk, a keynote speech on artificial intelligence in Florida, don't show this slide. I learned the hard way. I managed to dig myself out of it, but apparently Florida is quite a Republican state. And there was a few shocked people in the audience. But yeah, completely AI generated, not real at all. And hopefully this is starting to trigger off thoughts of, well, how these types of images can actually influence maybe politics, maybe our democracy, because there's a real potential there, and it wouldn't be the first time that we've been influenced by social media, digital technologies when it comes to elections and things like that. And expect to see more of that. We live in a world where this will likely happen. I've got tutorials for this, so I will show you how to use Midjourney. I've got a YouTube video that shows you how to do it and how to apply it to certain subjects and schools for you to create some cool content for your students, and also how to even get your own image into these AI generated tools. In fact, what time are we on? Yeah, we've got time. Let me show you it. So this is a tool called Discord. I'm sure some of you will have used Discord before. It's a platform for generating communities and creating rooms for communities. Midjourney, this powerful AI tool, works actually in Midjourney at the moment. And once you've installed it, and I'll show you how to do it in the video, which I'll get sent over to you, you simply just type /imagine, and then you can type anything you want into here, and it will generate it. Okay. Now let's have a go, because I want to show you how easy it is. So because it's normally funny, I'm going to type in Boris Johnson. Now, what do we want Boris Johnson to be doing in this image? It's really difficult when you've got to be appropriate for a work setting. But what can we get Boris Johnson doing? Let's do something like riding a skateboard through Downing Street. I've just bought myself like a new keyboard, like an ergonomic keyboard, and like half the keys are on one side and half them on the other. So I'm like, I know it looks like I can't type, but I'm just trying to get the grips with this new keyboard. Boris Johnson riding a skateboard through Downing Street. Let's put in there photorealistic. And photorealistic shot on a Canon camera, and let's see what it does. So I'm going to send the prompt to it. It's going to give me 4 options. It gives me 4 options because then I can choose which one I think is best, and then that trains the AI. The AI learns, actually, this one is the better image, and it helps with millions and millions of people doing that every single day. It helps to train it and get better. So you'll see them starting to come into focus now. Here we go. What have we created here? 93% done, so we're nearly there. Right, then I get to choose which one I think is the best one. Let's try number 3. So I press U3, which upscales it. It's going to make it into a higher quality image. Let's open that in the new browser so we can see it. And there we go. We've created a photorealistic image of Boris Johnson riding a skateboard. I'm not quite convinced that's Downing Street, but it's done a good job of trying to create Downing Street there. I think it's a good reminder as well that with these tools, you don't just type in what you want and you get what you want always. So you've got to go back and forth with it, especially using ChatGPT. Remember, it's called ChatGPT, so you've got to have a chat with it. You've got to work with it, collaborate with it, and it's not going to read your mind. You've got to try and get the idea across to it. But there we go. Boris Johnson riding a skateboard. I don't know why we would ever want that image, so I'm going to come off it and go back to the presentation. So yeah, and I'll send you the guides on how to do all of that. Let's have a look at some other examples because it goes beyond that. That was text to image. There are tools out there that will allow you to create videos just by doing what I've just done there. So write it in what type of video you want, and it will generate a video. There are other examples, text to audio, where you type in what type of audio you want and it will generate the audio as well. In fact, I've got an example here. You might have come across this. If you type in AI music into YouTube, you come across some pretty crazy stuff. But I found, and mainly because I quite like it. I'm not sure I like admitting that I like it, but somebody uses AI to get Johnny Cash to sing modern day pop songs. So they use Johnny Cash's voice, use AI to sing modern day pop songs. I'll play it for you.
I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Life in plastic, it's fantastic. You can brush my hair, undress me everywhere. Oh, come on, Barbie, let's go party, 'cause I'm in a Barbie world. If you wanna be my lover, you gotta get with my friends. Make it last forever, friendship never ends. Up in my hands, up playing my song, the butterflies fly away. Yeah, 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 it's a party in the USA.
Okay, it's pretty good, isn't it? It's pretty good. I'm aware that when I said modern day pop songs, that those pop songs were about 20 years old. But yeah, Johnny Cash would never sung those. So someone used AI to do that. And the possibility, what does all this mean? And I put this in my book. I said, in the AI era, we will create simply using words. Everything I've shown you so far, created with words. And even the images in this presentation, I used Midjourney to create these images, created with words. Now, when I say that, it normally provokes a few different reactions. The first reaction is if you're like me and don't have a creative board in your body, this is really cool. We get to express ourselves in new ways. We get to create in ways that we never thought we could create before. And I say create in inverted commas there. We get to do some cool creative things there. Also, I mean, if you want to even follow that path further, the fact that it allows us to express ourselves in ways that we might not have been able to before. And also think about our students who might have special educational needs, who can't express themselves in certain ways, who need help, who might need this to facilitate that expression. It's a rabbit hole, that side of it, which I think could really aid accessibility and helping our students with those needs. And let's look at the other side of the coin, though. There's a lot of concern here, and it's quite obvious concern, I think, but also quite genuine concern. What about human creativity? What about the creative technical skills that our students are learning, or that we've learned, or that our past students or students going out into the world to create businesses and work for industries have? What will that mean about their skills? I'm quite hopeful. In fact, I'm really hopeful because a lot of the evidence that's coming out suggests that it's humans working with AI that gets the best results. And if you follow kind of all of this and see where it might be heading, and just step back a bit and see what does our future hold with this technology, it's very easy to come to the conclusion that our future is AI human collaboration. because what we can do and the results we can get with human and AI together is much better than just the AI on its own and just the human on its own. So we can safely assume our future is AI and human collaboration together. This raises the floor on creativity. So it allows people who haven't been able to do things like this before to be able to do it. However, I don't think that takes away necessarily from the people with the technical creative skills. And when I say that, creative skills are at the heart of pretty much everybody's profession, really. If you think as a teacher, you need to have creativity to be able to design good learning. It's not just the creative subjects or the creative industries that have sole domain of creativity. It's part of everything we do. So it raises the floor and allows us to do more. But those with the technical skills will be in the knowledge and the experience will be able to do so much more. We're seeing that happening. We're seeing people with the skills do more. And as an example, when I wrote that prompt for Midjourney, when we created the image of Boris Johnson just before, I purposefully wrote it in a way so I could come back to it now and mention it. But I put things in like shot on a Canon camera. I put things in like photorealistic. Now, that was a very, very basic prompt. But if I was a photographer, let's say I was a trained photographer with experience, skills, and knowledge, I could have written paragraphs and paragraphs of detail, technical detail, about how I wanted that image to be. I could have specified the model of camera, the frame rate, the type of lens, the angles, the type of light, and so on and so on and so on. So somebody who's got the skills, the knowledge, and the experience can get so much more out of these tools. But that should fill us with hope, because us teachers who've got the pedagogical skills, who have got experience with students, who know our subject knowledge and subject matter, that means that we can get so much more out of this than somebody who's not a teacher, okay? And I just want to drive that home, that it's the collaboration with AI. It's our knowledge and skills and experience about teaching and pedagogy together with AI that will help to augment and be able to help us save time, to streamline our workload, be more creative, be more efficient, and so on and so on. If there's one thing you take away from this, it's that AI human collaboration. I want to push you towards box 3. Remember before I talked about the 3 boxes. I just want to try and keep that box 3 in the back of your mind, because I do think there needs to be an urgency where we're starting to think about the future of education. Just to show you some of the out there use cases of this technology so far. Remember, we're on day 1. ChatGPT is less than a year old, and we're starting to now get some studies and data coming out about what it can do. So this was released. This is a paper that came out just last month, a few weeks ago, and it was a pilot study, and they found that ChatGPT performs as well as doctors for suggesting likely diagnosis in emergency medicine departments. Now, whatever you do, please, if you're ill, go see a doctor. Please do. Don't just rely on ChatGPT. But this technology is on day 1, and we're starting to get use cases like this. We're starting to see insights into its capability. Now, if we follow that through and look a few years down the line as this technology gets better, this is going to disrupt healthcare. It's going to disrupt how we access it, the information we get about our health. It's not too hard. You don't need too much of imagination to see how this is going to happen with capabilities like this that it already has. And it's going to be the same for every industry, including education. Now, let me tell you this example, because I want to blow your minds a bit, because I think it's important that we see just how crazy this technology can get. So back in February, Osaka University in Japan released a study that they've been doing. And what they wanted to do is they wanted to train an image AI model. So remember I was talking about Midjourney before. It's trained on millions of images and then works out the probability of the color of the pixels and so on. Now, instead of training their AI on lots and lots of stock images, stock photographs, they decided to show some human participants the stock photos. So there was 4 of them, and they had to look through a few tens of thousands of images. So it took a bit of time. And every time they looked at an image, they would do an MRI scan of their brain. Why? Why did they do that? Because it was the MRI scan image that they were feeding to the AI. And as you can imagine, every time they looked at a different type of image, the MRI scan would change a bit because of the colors, the shapes, the emotions, the thoughts that these images brought up in the people. And after a while, the AI started to get really accurate at guessing the type of image the participants were looking at just off the MRI scan. It got to the point where they said to the participants, there was 4 of them, they said, put the images down, and a bit like a magician, they said, close your eyes and just think of an image in your head and focus on that image. And when they were focusing on that image, they did an MRI scan of their brains, and they took the MRI scan, give it to the AI. The images in the red boxes at the top are the images that the 4 participants were thinking of. The images in the black boxes below is what the AI generated just based off the MRI scan. It pretty much read their minds. Now, again, we're on day 1 of this technology. This is the type of experiments that are going on with it. I can't think of one example where when we create technology that we put it back in the box. Really, we might provide regulation around it, but once the technology's out of the box, it's out of the box. Once the toothpaste is out of the tube, it's out of the tube. You can't put it back in. This technology exists. And we're going to start seeing more and more crazy examples and use cases and applications of this technology. My question for you is, what does an education system look like that prepares students for a world where this type of technology exists and everything else that's coming? What might we have to change? What might we have to focus on? What skills might we have to focus on? And so on. Remember, going back to that 3-box model, if our box 1 is going to be disrupted, then what do we create? What when we get into box 3, what do we create? Okay, let's move on a bit. So I want to move past this. I want to focus on the box 3. Why? Because remember, I talked about innovation in box 3 is about linear innovation. Sorry, non-linear innovation. It's about creating something new, about creating and to be honest, I say this to a lot of people. I had a meeting with the government department for science and technology this morning, where I'm helping them with they're creating a paper on AI in education. And one of the questions they asked me was, what do you think the government should legislate on when it comes to AI in education? And I was very frank. I said, I don't think there's not going to be any quick fix legislation with this. I think we're talking about systemic change here. We're talking about having to create a new system, a new way of doing things. And I think this is the reason why, for me, and you might have your own reasons, you might want to come up with your own reasons, but basically for me, it comes down to preparation for students for their future careers. If we're going to be living in a very different world, we're going to have to prepare our students for that world. Number 2, teachers having the best tools available to be able to do their jobs or how their jobs might transform, but having the best tools to be able to do that. And number 3, it's about our schools staying relevant as educational providers. And I'm not going to have time to get onto number 3 really, but I've done lots of writing about it. My next book's going to be about it as well. It's all about how there's a lot of competition coming for schools. Schools have never had to really deal with competition, but we're about to see lots of competition from companies building educational resources powered by AI and so on and so on. And how do we stay relevant? And that's why I introduced the box 3 strategy, really, because it's a business strategy. So you might be thinking, why is he using it in education? It's because of this reason, because I think we are going to be in a similar position to businesses where we've got competition. Parents are going to have more choices. So how do we stay relevant in that world? Again, I can't really get into that in this talk, but I'll give you links to my newsletter afterwards. I write about it if you want to delve deeper into that. So let's tackle number 1, preparation for students for their future careers. I just want to share a bit of data that's come out in recent months. This is from a Goldman Sachs report that was released in April, I think, where they found that 2/3 of occupations could be partially automated by AI. So the jobs market, the careers that we're preparing our students for, or the skills that we're preparing, that we're helping them develop so that they can succeed in their careers, is probably going to be changing. This report led the BBC to report that AI could replace the equivalent of 300 million jobs. Recent reports have got that number at over 1 billion. And it's already happening. IKEA, they got rid of 3,000 call center workers recently because they found that not only could AI do the job, but it was getting better customer satisfaction ratings than the humans in the call center. Dropbox, the company, have laid off 500 people and are using AI instead. This is a report from July on CNN about a CEO who replaced 90% of their support staff with an AI chatbot. This is less than a year into ChatGPT being released, and already the jobs market is changing. Some of you might be thinking, well, this is what happens when we get new disruptive technology. Think of early 2000s, if you were around and can remember. The rise of internet companies was very disruptive, and lots of new jobs were created, and some jobs just faded away or become less popular. This is what happens, and it's right. I mean, and the report uses this research by this economist who found that 60% of today's workers were employed in occupations that didn't exist in 1940 because of technological change. 60%, that's a large number. However, it is 1940 as well. You'd expect it to be a lot of change since 1940. We're about to see a lot of change again. In fact, we're already starting that change, and I showed you some of those examples there, but it's going to be faster this time. And it's going to be faster for two reasons. Every organization pretty much in the world is getting into AI right now, where it might not be that they're creating AI, but they're implementing it and they're applying it to their products. And therefore, market forces are going to mean progress with this technology very, very fast. Secondly, this is the first time ever in history that we've had a technology that can improve itself. Now, it's still going to need humans to help it advance, but the core of what it knows and what it learns, it can do that itself. And in fact, there's an argument to be made that as it does that, that learning compounds, which means that not only is it going to continue to learn, but the rate at which it learns will get faster and faster. So we're about to see monumental change in this area. What worries me is this. I mean, there's a few things that worry me about this, although I'm largely optimistic and think it's very beneficial. One of my main worries is the digital divide. I was teaching in a high school. I was on a leadership team during that first year of COVID. What became very obvious, and it became obvious to most people about society, not just with our young people, but what became obvious is that there was a digital divide between students who had access to this technology and had the skills to use it well versus those who didn't. I mean, we had students who were learning more at home during that 2 years where we were in and out of lockdown than they would have if they came into the class because of their access to technology and their skills to use it. And then we had some students who didn't learn a thing for 2 years because they didn't have access and they didn't have the skills to use it. That gap is going to become a gulf. Because if you think about it, students without the access, without the skills are going to stay where they are. Students with the skills and with the access are going to go even further. If they're developing skills where they can collaborate with AI, they're going to go even further. That's a real worry. And I think actually if schools want to start looking at the ethics and the concerns of AI, this is a great place to start because it's something we can start addressing right now. Schools have got the power to help with this, to help bring in skills for all students, to help bring in access to technology for all students. So I think it's a nice place to start. I don't think it's just students, so I think it's us as teachers as well. And I just want to show you a bit of data that came out a few weeks ago. Now, granted, this data is not about education. It's about a group of consultants in America. However, there's not much data out. We're still in early days of this. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence coming out about certain teachers and certain schools using AI and the impact that it's having, but not much research data. So, but I want to show you this because I think it backs up a lot of the anecdotal evidence we're seeing. And a group from MIT and Harvard worked with 700 consultants who were using AI and 700 who weren't. And they found that consultants using AI finished 12% more tasks on average, completed tasks 25% more quickly, and produced 40% higher quality results than those without. those numbers are just going to get increasingly larger and larger and larger as the technology gets better and better and better. My worry, therefore, is teachers who are embracing this technology versus teachers who aren't, and the gap that's going to widen there. And I mean, it's quite a crude comment that I made here. It's quite a blunt comment, but I do think it still stands. And I wrote this, I think, back in the early February, that AI won't replace teachers, but it will replace teachers who can't use AI. And what I mean by that is teachers that still have that pedagogical knowledge, that experience, but are using AI to enhance it, to augment what they're doing. Remember, if our future is AI and human collaboration, then we've got to learn those skills. Because it can do things like this. In fact, let me show you an example here. It's a really unsexy example, by the way, but I think this is where it can help us. So as a teacher, we have to do a lot of admin work. And I don't know about you, but I can't imagine anyone got into teaching to do risk assessments. But whenever you do a trip, whenever you do something where you take students out of their normal environment, the likelihood is you're going to have to do some kind of risk assessment. And get ChatGPT to do it for you. This is me typing in ChatGPT, asking it to complete the risk assessment for me. I've even pasted in the website where it can find some advice on risk assessments. And because I'm using the paid version, I've asked it to download it for me as a downloadable document as well, which you can do. And it's going to do it for me. Now, bear in mind that a risk assessment's a legal document, so you're going to want to double check it and make sure it's all good. But this will do 99% of the work for you. And you can see here, it's starting to pull together the information that I've asked for. Now it's going to put it into a table. And it's going to create that risk assessment for me. Get it to do the stuff that takes up your time, that actually gets in the way of you being a good teacher and your students learning. Things like this. I'm going to move on simply because I want to show you a few more bits, right? I used to be a philosophy teacher when I was in high school, and there are some amazing videos out there that put some philosophical concepts into bite-sized chunks, and I used to use them for revision and so on with students. With this technology, you could take the transcript of a good YouTube video. You could copy that transcript. You could paste it into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to create for you a good lesson with resources based on good pedagogy. This is an example of me doing it here. So I'm copying and pasting the transcript that you can get for most YouTube videos if you just click the transcript button. I'm pasting it into ChatGPT along with some very specific instructions. I want you to create a lesson plan using the transcript of a YouTube video. Given it a role, you are a philosophy teacher who specializes in Plato and Aristotle's science theories, write and engage and start a task, and so on. I'm embedding the pedagogy into my prompt, and here we go. It's creating this lesson for me. It's going to bases it on the knowledge that was in that video. It's creating a starter task for me, and so on. Now, it might not be perfect. Of course, it's not going to be perfect the first time you try this, but it's about going back and forth with it, asking it to adjust things, knowing how to prompt. And in my book, and I'll send you a resource on this for free. I have a framework for how to write a really specific prompt for ChatGPT, because the quality of the input when it comes to these tools dictates the quality of the output. So you've got to be really good at asking prompts, being specific, helping the AI focus on what you want it to focus on. And I'll send you that guide along with 40 prompts to help you get started with it. This is that document. You don't have to scan that. Don't worry about that. I'll send it. I'll send it over, and then it'll get emailed out to you. We've got about 6 minutes left, I think. I'm going to skip past these examples, but I will send them to you in that resource pack. If you use Canva, and if you're not using Canva, I really recommend you do. A lot of teachers love using Canva. You can get a free pro account as a teacher for Canva. All you have to do is, in fact, I'll show you this really quickly because I do think it's really valuable. If you type into Google Canva education, and first one there, canva.com education, you can sign up for an account, and then if you scroll down, you'll see a window, purple box appears in the top right-hand corner, which says teachers get verified. Now, I think when I did this, I think I just took a photo of my school ID, the badge, sent it to them, and they verify it, give you an account for free. And then you get access to all of their AI tools. And they've got some really cool AI tools in there. They don't call it AI though, they call it Magic. So if you click here, you can see the Magic Studio, and there's lots of tools in there. It will create presentations for you. And let me show you that very quickly. If I go to create design, click presentation, it gives me a blank presentation. Here it is. The top left-hand corner, I can type something in like the 2008 Sichuan earthquake. Let me type in a lesson on the 2008 Sichuan earthquake. And you can see in the top left-hand corner, there's some blank boxes here, and it's creating presentations for me. It's being very slow. It's normally a lot faster than this. I wonder if it's not. I know ChatGPT was down before. I wonder if it's had an impact on it. Let me try something else. Let me try. Actually, there's some examples here. Let's go for the importance of the Apollo moon missions. Let's give this a try. If it's not working, I think it might be down, but I'm sure it'll be back up very quickly. Yeah, I don't think it's working. But essentially, in those black boxes, what will happen is it creates presentations for you, completely AI generated with images and so on. Yeah, it's not working. But I really recommend Canva. It's got a ChatGPT feature. It's got a let me show you this. If I go to apps and scroll down to Magic Media, it's got its own image generator in there as well. It's also got its own video generator. And in fact, let me just show you the actual video that comes with it to show some of these features. So there are a lot of teachers around the world who use Canva and find those tools really, really helpful and create their presentations in Canva. In fact, my presentation today was made in Canva. And because those tools are integrated into it, it just helps bring a bit of AI into some really cool tools to help you make presentations and documents and so on, help you create content for your students. Let me just move on through this. ChatGPT is a horrible product, according to Sam Altman. Sam Altman is the creator of ChatGPT. Why is he saying this? Greg Brockman, who is kind of the brains behind ChatGPT, he's the developer, the co-founder of OpenAI, who leads a lot of this technological advancement. And he said a year from now, we look back fondly on the AI that exists today as quaint and antiquated. Everything I've shown you today out of date this time next year, according to the guy who creates this technology. We're going to move at speed here. I'm just going to leave it on this quote, I think, just for time. And I think if I had my own school, I would put this on the door on the way in. And it's by Wayne Gretzky, the Canadian ice hockey player, who said, "I skate to where the puck is going to be, not where it's been." I think as an education system, this has to be our motto now. And as educators, as teachers yourselves, as you enter the profession and gain experience, skate to where the puck is going to be, not where it's been. We need it. We need it as an education system. We need visionary thinkers who are going to help transform the system into a place where our students can learn to thrive for this new era that we are entering. Please do check out the book if you haven't already. It's about 400 pages long, and it goes into a lot more detail and practical frameworks. I'm writing the new book as we speak, hopefully going to be out in April. It's called The Leadership in the Future, Educational Strategy in the AI Era. Again, it's not going to just be designed for people who have got the title of leader. It's going to be designed for all educators. We've got a repository. So we've got 150 tools in our repository that use AI specifically for teachers. So the website is aieducator.tools, and you can search for different types of AI tools that you can use for planning, use with students, and so on. We've also got a Facebook group. If you're on Facebook, if you're below 30, the chances are you might not be on Facebook. But if you type in the AI Classroom, you'll find it. And we've just gone over 31,000 members, teachers from all over the world, sharing resources and tips and concerns around AI. And I'd love to have you in there and join us in that conversation. Also, if you want me to spam your mailbox every Sunday, I've got a newsletter where there's current thought pieces and tutorials that will help you as this technology progresses. You can find it all at the aieducator.io. It's been lovely to spend this hour with you, and good luck with everything. There's not many questions coming in, but that's okay. I think I've pretty much taken up all the time myself. And I will leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me for this. And if you need anything, you've got any questions, please do just reach out. And I've got other resources that I can help you with. And I will send, in fact, I'll put it on the screen now. This is my resource pack here. And I'll get it sent over to you. And it's got links to lots of tutorials and guides of things that I've mentioned today. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a good evening.